Hello, welcome to the next session in our Path to a Perfect 10. My name is Gab Davis. I'm an admin of all things, especially complicated things, which is where the fun is. And I've been putting together these series of videos to talk you through preparing for the upgrade of Domino 10 and Notes 10 and all the stuff that's actually coming out next week. So, as part of our plan right now, we're looking at when, how, and what we're going to upgrade. Let's talk about estimating work effort and downtime. Domino 10 ships next week on October 9th, so you should be thinking about when and how you might deploy it in your environment. Hopefully, you're going to start with a test environment. That's going to help you finalize your plan, but it's also going to help you get some idea of how much time each element of the plan will take. Whenever we're doing a plan, if we're going to sell this into the business and we're going to upgrade the entire environment, we always want to minimize downtime. That makes users happy, and we want to minimize work effort to make our lives easier. But there's downtime and there is downtime. So let's talk about the two. User access downtime is when users are basically denied direct access to the server whilst work needs to complete. That kind of thing could be compacting to upgrade the ODS of the databases, design updates, rebuilding full text indexing. All of these can be done without locking users off the server performing the work, but it's often quicker and cleaner to plan these kind of major updates with no user access to the mail files, interrupting the work. Clusters are great for this, so you can perform the work on one server at a time. So to enable user access downtime, to lock the users off the server, we're going to set a notes ini setting called server restricted. We can do that via the server console doing set config server underscore restricted equals 2. There are several settings to server restricted. Setting 1 denies client connection. So as an admin, you connect, but clients can't connect. 2 is the same as 1, but persistent through reboots. And there are settings that actually deny replication connections as well. So when we're doing upgrades, we're not trying to deny replication. We just want to lock the users off. So I want to use 2, and that way I know that if I do a reboot, I've still locked the users off, and they're locked off until I decide to let them back on. Then if the server's up, we run a console command called drop all. That immediately drops all the client connections that are currently attached to that server. So if I set server restricted and then I drop all, people won't be able to reconnect to that server. But we also, that's just for the Notes client, we also want to stop any other client-facing services that we don't want people using while we're doing the work. IMAP, POP, even HTTP. If you use Traveler and you have a separate Traveler server, those devices are going to continue working even if you set server restricted. The Traveler server will still continue to send and receive mail. It's still going to be able to access the mail server as a server task. Cluster behavior in the Notes client should also fail the user over to an available cluster mate. So often we use a setting called server availability threshold, and if you set that to 100, that marks a cluster mate as being busy. So it then won't allow client connections. But we don't need to use that if we've set server restricted. Then we have downtime, which is server downtime. Even during user access downtime, agents will still run, mail will still come in and go out. Any interfaces you don't explicitly shut down, such as HTTP, are all going to continue to work. But server downtime is different from user downtime. During those periods, no services will respond or be available. So server downtime has a much bigger impact on the business than user downtime. And you need to consider that as two very separate things. If you don't have a high availability architecture, so there's no way to fail people over, then all downtime is significant and needs to be minimized. So what kind of tasks are we doing with the server down completely? Well, upgrading the Domino program files themselves, upgrading any extension manager files that you might have running under Domino, moving to new hardware, offline database maintenance. Often doing large-scale maintenance tasks is more efficient when the server is down completely. From the Domino data directory, we can call a program like compact directly from there, and it'll run using the same Notes INI and the same server ID, but without actually running the server. So to estimate downtime, we need to understand how long each task is going to take. If you've got a lot of mega gigabyte databases, even performing the most simple piece of maintenance work can take hours. Always test. That's why we have our test environment. Test how long these things take. If you don't have high availability infrastructure, you don't have the option of extended downtime to do the work. You'll have to do the work with stages with the server up. We assign more time to work effort in order to minimize server and user downtime. So in your planning, if you're not going to be allowed much downtime, if you can't take much downtime, then the actual work effort is going to take more time. You're going to have to do things in smaller chunks. Don't use finger in the air calculations. Large databases take exponentially longer than smaller ones. So test how long a compact takes, test how long rebuilding a full text index takes, test how long some of these things take before you say, I'll only need 2 hours downtime to do all of this. So what work can be done with the servers running that has an impact on performance? Think about what must be done with the servers down and how long that's going to take. For example, make sure you've got all your installers in place. Make sure if they're extracted to the temp directories, make sure you're ready to run the install. All of that minimizes your downtime. Make sure you've got all your ducks in a row before you take the server down. I've seen too many times of we go to extract an installer and the disk is performing slowly and it takes 10 minutes to extract the installer, or the download hasn't come down properly and you only discover that once you bring the server down. So get as much done as you can with the server up. Plan for your own testing before you let anyone else on. Before you remove server restricted, just test yourself that everything seems to be working. Have milestones during your downtime where you can bring everything back online if you have overshot and pick it up later. If your phone rings and people say, no, people need back on the server now, make sure you have breakpoints where you can go, okay, I just need to do these 2 tasks and then we can bring it back online and then pick up the rest of your plan later. So always have those milestones ready. Communicate your downtime and work with your users to ensure they understand and there is minimal or no loss of critical services. No one will thank you for giving them a brand shiny new system if they went through a lot of pain getting it there. And bear in mind, someone will always object at any downtime at all, usually at the last minute. So the more planning you've got, the more justification you've got for needing that time, the better you're going to be to do the work. So that's our work effort and downtime piece. Where are we now? You should have a plan or ready to write a plan and be ready to get upgrade. Once you get your hands on Domino 10 next week, you can start testing how long each part of your plan will take. Build your test environment, but build it in its own domain. Make sure you have everything isolated and ready to go. I actually will do another session on that, possibly the next one. You can also afford downtime entirely by breaking tasks into smaller chunks. More work effort on your part can equal less downtime. Sorry, but it's true. Sometimes we have to spend more time doing something ourselves to cause the least pain to the business. If you have or can even temporarily build a high availability infrastructure, which enables you to work on servers in isolation, and that's going to dramatically reduce your potential downtime because all that user activity can happen somewhere else. And register here for the Domino 10 launch event live from Frankfurt on the 9th, October 9th, or one of the regional events happening all across Europe and the US, which are happening on the 10th. So next up, I was planning to talk, let's talk version 10 admin and TCO, and then working with mail files. But I may just slip a little session in between those on how to build your test environment. Good luck, and I'll speak to you next week.